So my daughter was just so happy. She was 9 years old, and it was Christmas, and she got everything she wanted from Santa, including a pointer, one of those long dowels with the little rubber things at the end that teachers use. She really, really wanted to be a teacher, and I think she wanted it because she could have a lot of control and power, and she felt that she needed that thing to be in control. So Christmas Day, we went down to the basement and we put up the letters on the wall, and she got every single chair and every single stool she could find downstairs, and she put all of her stuffed animals on them, and she stood up in front of those little stuffed animals in total control, teaching them the alphabet and vowels. And those little beanie babies, they weren't going to get in any trouble in her classroom. And it made her so, so happy. Until she realized that the person she wanted to share this with, her happiness with, wasn't there. She went from this joyous child to unconsolable. She cried all night long. And she didn't really understand why. I understood. I kind of knew what was going on, but she was a kid, and she really couldn't figure out how you could be happy and also have so much sadness at the same time. She didn't know how to process that. You see, she lost her father in April, and this was her first Christmas without Dad. And she had been, she had gone through a little bit of grieving, but it was at this moment that really brought it on. And how bittersweet to have such joy and not have anybody to share it with. And isn't joy what we share? Isn't that when you get a phone call that says you got the job of your dreams that you want, what is the first thing you do? You pick up the phone, you call your mom, you call your husband, you call your best friend. You want to share it, right? When that little toddler comes running into the room because he did something for the very first time that he's never done before, he jumps up and down and he runs to mom because he wants to share it. And that's what we do. That's what we do with holidays, and that's what we do with our life. My husband died in 2004, and on the night of his funeral, my son said he wanted to play in his Little League game, and I was absolutely mortified. My father looked at me and he said, "Let him go, I'll take him." So he did. I dropped them off, and I got out of there as soon as possible. I went back to pick them up, and my father kind of looked at me and said, I sat there on the bleachers, and the two women in front of me didn't know who I was, and they were pointing to my son and said, didn't his father just die? What is he doing here? And kind of making a lot of comments, and I just let it go. 2 months later, I called a camp because my kids were going to be in a summer camp, and I called the camp director to talk to her, to let her know what was going on in our lives. We spoke for 2 hours. She told me about her brother-in-law who worked for Cantor Fitzgerald, and he died in 9/11. And on the night of his funeral, her nephew wanted to play hockey. 2 years later, my cousin, who was my age, lost her husband unexpectedly. And when I called her and we spoke on the phone, she was in tears and said that her 8-year-old daughter wanted to go to her ballet recital. I learned a lot over those first couple of years about kids, about the way they grieve, about their experiences, about their need to be safe before they can grieve. They want to know that everything is normal. And it was just an important realization for me, because I think it's important not to pass judgment on people. And because my son wanted to go to his baseball game. And it made me happy in a way. It made me happy to know that he was going to be okay. But how bittersweet those circumstances of that happiness. Thank you. Yeah.